Stugotz here for DraftKings.com. You've been waiting for this since February 6th. Football season is finally here, and there's no better way to get closer to the game you love than with DraftKings 1 Week Fantasy Football. To celebrate, DraftKings is hosting a $100,000 contest this Sunday that is totally free to enter, and if you draft the perfect lineup, you can win $1 billion. With DraftKings, there are many ways to play. Choose between public contests with big cash prizes or private contests where you can compete against a group of your friends. DraftKings also has beginner and casual contests where you'll play against people of similar skill level. The best part is you get to draft a new team each week without any commitment. So get to DraftKings.com right now and use promo code HUDDLE to play in DraftKings free contest with $100,000 in total prizes this Sunday. And if you draft the perfect lineup, you could win $1 billion. That's promo code HUDDLE to play for your shot to win $1 billion this Sunday. The contest is totally free to enter. Why wouldn't you give it a try? DraftKings, the game inside the game. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Football season is finally here, and DraftKings, the leader in 1 week fantasy sports, is giving you a shot to be crowned the first ever fantasy football billionaire. Draft the perfect lineup this Sunday, and you can win $1 billion. Just use code HUDDLE to play in DraftKings free contest with $100,000 in total guaranteed prizes this Sunday. And if you draft the perfect lineup, you can win $1 billion. It's free. Why wouldn't you try? DraftKings.com code HUDDLE. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
The Dan Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Happy Friday, kiddos. The Dan Batard Show is on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and Sirius XM Channel 80. My name is Clinton Yates, hosting the day. You want to give me a phone call? Hit me up. 888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Of course, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot to see how much you could save before switching to Progressive. Visit progressive.com/snapshot. The baseball playoffs are looming large, kiddos. Tune in tomorrow as the Indians host the O's, presented by Firestone Complete Auto Care. Coverage begins at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. My late grandmother's name was Betty. Betty lived for, I'd say, probably close to 50 years in a city I've been to quite a few times. That city's in Missouri. That city's name is Kansas City. If Grandma Betty were alive last night, she would have been hooting and hollering, standing on her couch, and maybe waving her .44 Magnum gun around her living room because she was so excited. She was a huge Chiefs fan. Few things made her happier than watching that football team win. And last night, as the Chiefs were absolutely pummeling the Patriots, I couldn't help but think of what she would have done if she were here to see it. Nobody on earth expected what they saw last night. Don't try to act like you did. Don't try to tell me you had some scheme in which Alex Smith was going to turn into Joe Montana. Don't act like that was real. This was a shocker of the biggest order, in my opinion, that we've seen in the NFL in a long time. Tom Brady looked pedestrian. The Pats looked outworked, out-schemed, and flatly were outplayed. If I'm a Pats fan today, this is more than a week one problem, in my opinion. This is a big-time issue as to what you think this team can do this season. The Chiefs? Are you kidding me? Getting your can slammed at home like that the day you unfurl your championship banner? Woo! I'm sorry, that is wildly embarrassing on a lot of levels. Brady looked like a 40-year-old man. We talked about this yesterday. I said I am so excited for the day that Pats fans have to internally face themselves and ask the question, is this our guy going forward? We're not there yet. I mean, you can't just dump a guy after week one after all he's given you, but dog, that did not look good. I mean, if you're going to expect Kareem Hunt to blow up like that every week, nope. He was a rookie. made that Pats defense look like they had no idea what was going on. Actually, a pretty impressive offensive game from the Chiefs. I'll give them that. They had a game plan. They stuck to it. Alex Smith looked good throwing the ball deep, something that he's been criticized a lot for in his career. Tom Brady was angry. I'll admit it. I was happy to see it. There's all sorts of people writing articles. Did the Patriots need to be humbled? Did the fans need to be humbled? Did they need that loss? There are sports in which I believe in teams needing losses. I said on Around the Horn Wednesday that I actually think the U.S. men's soccer team could do to miss a World Cup or two in order to realign their priorities. The one sport I do not think that's the case is football. You don't play enough games. There is no such thing as a good loss in football remotely. The math just isn't there. Let's hear the play-by-play of Alex Smith connecting with Kareem Hunt.
Alex Smith wants to throw all kinds of time. He wants Kareem Hunt out of the backfield, 40, 35 to the 30. Hunt breaks a tackle, 15, 10, stiff arms a man, gets all the way to the end zone. Touchdown, Kansas City, 78 yards. Kareem Hunt, welcome to the National Football League. Your second touchdown of the night.
That's from 101 The Fox, Chiefs Radio, the Chiefs Radio Network, excuse me. They're in midseason form. But I got to ask you, Pats fans, let me know. I don't want to use the word panic button, but how far do you go with that? This wasn't a garden variety loss. 16 for 36 from Tom Brady? He missed 20 throws? A couple drops there, but come on. Can't have this. Can't have this at all. Let's hear what he had to say about his team's performance. Tom Brady, that is.
The guys that are in there are going to have to do a good job. Every position that we have is going to have to do a better job than we did tonight. There was nothing really positive about anything that was done. So, we got to, get back to work. We got 9 days before our next game, and hopefully we play a lot better than tonight.
Maybe I missed more of that presser, but pretty sure it starts with you, Tom. I mean, last time I checked, you're the one making the big dollars. You're the one all over my TV and magazines. We got to do a lot, apparently, but you are the leader of that team. It's creeping on up, the doubt. Creeping on in. What happens if they go to the next game and lose one? Do you start thinking about what's going to happen? Does the succession plan suddenly get, fast forwarded a little bit? Can't wait for this to become a problem in Boston. Like, actively looking forward to the internal combustion that will be Pats fans if Brady starts off the season as bad as he did yesterday. Bill Belichick, head coach of the Pats, was absolutely not happy with it either. Let's hear him.
All right, well, we didn't really do much of anything well enough tonight to deserve to win. We gave up 42 points, stopped on 4 short yardage plays. Got to coach better. Got to practice better. Got to play better. We got a lot of work to do. I mean, that's obvious. We'll have to get back to work and see if we can improve pretty much everything. Just not good enough. Andy, Kansas City did a good job. Give them credit. But we just really weren't competitive enough, especially on offense and defense. Just made too many mistakes and didn't play well on top of that. Fundamentals weren't good enough. Really nothing was good enough, so we all got to do a better job. That's going to be pretty much the answer to every question because that's what it was.
Awfully quiet media room. Could have heard a pin drop in there. Vastly different tone from the beginning of the game. Or shall I say before the game. It's not quite the panic button, but I do want to know what you think about what it is. 888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Are you chilling? Pats fan? Is this just another L in your mind? Look pretty bad to me. Y'all know that I ain't no football expert. Y'all know that I'm not going to chalk talk these X's and O's with you like that. I just turn on the TV, watch the games, know what I know. That, my friends, was craptastic. Decent game through a couple quarters. Don't get me wrong. But they didn't look good. They didn't look good at all. And Alex Smith, on that hand, looked great. I'm not saying he played the best game I've ever seen. But to get 4 TDs and no interceptions on the road, I'm not sure anybody thought Alex Smith still had that game in him at all in his career in this league. Let's hear what he had to say about this tremendous performance.
There's a ton of anticipation for him. This one probably more than any other I'd been a part of, just because it's kicking off the season and you're playing the defending world champs. But they're openers. I mean, that's it, right? I mean, you can't make more of it than that. I mean, it's a win, it's a big win, but you got to be able to handle it the right way. I mean, we got to be able to be resilient, turn our attention to next week, and you got to be able to stack them, and stay short-sighted and have a sense of urgency about your business. So, yeah, it's certainly probably the biggest opener I've been a part of.
Good for him. I've always liked Alex Smith. Thought he got a bad rap early on. Hasn't exactly been the most consistent guy on earth. But that's a big win for him in his life and his career. They deserve that. If I'm Roger Goodell this morning, I'm laughing. Y'all out there waving towels around with clown noses on. Who's the clown now? Certainly could have used one last night. I don't know, maybe to distract the Chiefs from running all over the field. Pats fans, it doesn't look good. And you know who's happy about it? Me.
Keep it locked to the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line right now, the Huffington Post, Travis Waldron. Trav, first thing I'll ask you, did you watch the game last night?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Were you out reporting?
We were out reporting pretty well into the evening down in Miami, and then drove back to the hotel, and we were just trying to get situated, so didn't have a lot of time to watch the game, but kind of followed it on Twitter a little bit. So
fair enough. But let me just so you're down in Fort Lauderdale. You're there for obviously the Hurricane Irma situation. Obviously, this is a Miami-based show. Dan and Stugotz are out because they're either sheltering or evacuating. Just give me an idea of what it looks like where you are at this point.
Well, we were in Fort Lauderdale on Wednesday night, and it was pretty calm. A lot of people, Home Depot, Walmart, obviously very crowded, but people were, pretty calm, orderly, just kind of going about their business. And even though they were Home Depot was running out of wood, Walmart was running out of water, it didn't feel too panicked. As the day went on and throughout the day yesterday, I mean, you could definitely kind of sense a little bit of shift in pace and attitude. People are a little bit more urgent, but it certainly seems like they've done a good job of preparing down here and giving everybody enough time. I was at the gas station in Miramar this morning, which is a little bit northwest of Miami, and the lines were out of the parking lot. It's not like it's a normal day in that sense, but it still went pretty fast, pretty smooth. There's even some kind of eerie signs of normalcy. On the way to the gas station, there were people state workers out mowing the grass on the highway. So it's, people are getting ready, but right now it almost feels, it's almost more anxiety than fear right now. I think it's sort of, everybody has kind of had a few days to get done what they need to get done. The people who are leaving are making those moves. And now it's just sort of sit and wait and see what happens.
Travis, how did you get this assignment, and what's it kind of like going into a situation where everyone's either evacuating or leaving or preparing for worst case scenario?
Yeah, so I had talked with editors last week about going down to Houston, and then they ended up sending other people, and we were in a meeting on Monday or Tuesday, I guess, and they asked if anybody wanted to go. I have family down here, so I figured it would be, at worst case scenario, if I was down here, I would at least have family around and accessible, which would make it a little easier to deal with. In terms of coming in, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of time to think about it. It was sort of Tuesday planning, Wednesday leave, get down here and start reporting. It's definitely interesting, kind of having the conversations with people where you're coming in when they're going out. One of the kind of, nice things has just been the cordiality of everyone in the stores, and kind of, like I said, it's been really peaceful and orderly. People just kind of nodding, good luck, stay safe. A lot of people aren't leaving. The evacuation zones along the coast, people are getting out, but farther inland, people seem like a lot of people are staying. They've been through a lot of these before, and obviously it's difficult for a lot of people to leave. They don't always have anywhere to go. They don't always have the money to get out. So we've talked to a lot of people who are in that situation. And, then there's the other factor of this thing's going to hit the whole state, which complicates the where do you actually go nature of it. But it's definitely been interesting to talk to people and kind of get the various perspectives on whether they're going to stay or whether they're going to go. And right now, I think, like I said, it's just sort of, it's been a few days. Everyone knows this is coming. And at this point, I think a lot of people just wanted to get here and get over with.
We're talking with the Huffington Post's Travis Waldron here on the Dan Lebitard Show. Clinton Yates, Aaron Dodson filling in here on ESPN Radio. Okay, so obviously there's a sports angle to this. The Dolphins game got canceled. Other things have been moved. Have you heard any reactions to that from people on the ground? And in general, what are your thoughts on the preparations and the plans that the NFL made regarding that game?
Well, first off, I mean, they got incredibly lucky in the sense that the Dolphins and the Bucs have the exact same bye week. Yeah. Which made it a pretty easy decision. And obviously some of the players are probably a little upset that they're not going to get a bye week in the middle of the season now, but I don't really see what other choice Roger Goodell and the NFL and the two teams had. I mean, you're not going to be able to play football here on Sunday. And in terms of, moving the game up or anything, with all the preparations that have to take place, not just for the players and their families, but, just for the city and the area in general, it would have been a distraction of resources and energy, I think. So it's definitely the right decision. I think for people down here, I mean, it's a bummer that they're not going to open football season the same way, but it hadn't, I don't think it's really been on anyone's minds. I've heard a few people in restaurants and things, talk about it. I interestingly enough, had on a Dolphins shirt when I got down here because I'm a Dolphins fan. And some people, people would ask about it, make small talk about it, but there hasn't been much talk of it. And same goes for the University of Miami and everything with schools closed and the games canceled. So, I think that's been back of the mind. We drove by the stadium yesterday, the Dolphins stadium, and it's interesting. It's sitting out in the middle of nowhere and kind of all on its own. And yeah, even that, you're used to seeing stadiums empty when it's not in the middle of, when it's not a game day or anything. But even then, just the way it was just sitting there, kind of the knowing that all of this is coming at everything. And it just it stood out to me for some reason.
Travis, have you gotten any wind at all of the high school sports landscape? Obviously, school just went back in, and Miami's a really big hotbed for high school talent, especially during football season.
Yeah, so obviously the schools are all closed through the weekend, so there won't be any football this weekend. We'll probably get a better sense of that today. A lot of the schools in Miami have been set up as shelters, so and we're planning to go visit some of those today and just get a sense of how they're preparing and what they're doing and what they're going to look like come Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about it yesterday. This is a huge high school football area, and it's one of the impacts of Katrina and Harvey and these storms that have hit the Gulf Coast is right at the beginning of school. Football has been a huge disruption. It's been a huge disruption for football in school, and it'll be interesting to see afterward. How the students and how the schools deal with it. Obviously there's the huge athletic complexes down here at some of these schools, and right. They're certainly going to be impacted. And that was that was one of the things from Katrina was how many football players, big time recruits, the same that exist down here the same way, ended up in different states and different schools. And it'll certainly be interesting to see, how that plays out in not just the coming days, but the coming months.
He's Travis Waldron. He writes about sports and other things for the Huffington Post. Stay safe, fam.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep it locked to the Dan Lebitard Show on ESPN Radio.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Lebitard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple. allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, Stugotz, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
ESPN MLB analyst Tim Kirkjian joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Tim, it comes out today, the Stephen King movie. What are your thoughts on clowns?
I probably won't watch it. There's probably a Pirates-Reds game that I have to watch. So, and I'm not big on horror films. I'm kind of a chicken. So, good chance I won't see it, unfortunately.
All right, in all seriousness, though, the Dodgers look like they are in complete free fall, but they've been ahead for so long. At what point should Dodger fans actually be worried about what's going on with this team?
Well, I would be worried right now, given the rest of the National League. The Nationals, once they get healthy with Bryce Harper, it's an if, but once they get healthy, that's a really good team. If the Cubs make the playoffs, and I think they will, I wouldn't want to see them either, assuming Jake Arrieta's healthy. The Diamondbacks have won 13 games in a row and just beat the Dodgers 6 straight times. Those are just some of the teams they'd have to see in the postseason, and that's a pretty formidable group there. Plus, it's amazing. The Dodgers lost. It took them 71 games to lose 11 games, and now they've lost 12 games out of 13. That's just stunning how this has happened. And their run, their offense is really in trouble for the moment, at least. 3 runs scored in the last 4 games, and during this 13-game span, they've only scored 28 runs. That's got to turn, or else the worries are going to get greater in L.A.
Tim, what did you like from Clayton Kershaw in his second outing? And come the playoffs, will he be Clayton Kershaw?
I think he'll be Clayton Kershaw in the playoffs, and everyone is.
Tim? Did we lose Tim? Vince? Did we lose him? All right. Well, we'll talk about baseball. You mentioned the Nats, Aaron.
Yeah. Nats called up Victor Robles.
What do you think about that?
I'm not surprised. He's the number 2 prospect in baseball right now, and he should add some good depth for them heading into the playoffs. I'm really hoping.
Jim, you back?
Yeah, sorry, my stupid phone. Sorry.
Go ahead. Talk about Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah. I wouldn't worry too much. There's some rust there. It's only his second start back from the disabled list. Everyone, including him, is allowed to have a bad start once in a while. I fully expect him to pull this together. I fully expect him to be really good in October, and he might have to be, given, again, the relative strength of the National League.
All right. We're talking with Tim Kirkjian, ESPN MLB analyst. Do you want to take calls, Tim, the way you usually do? You want to do that?
I don't care. You guys are in charge. Whatever you want.
888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. If you have any questions for Tim Kirkjian, he joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Clinton Yates, Aaron Dodson filling in here. All right, Tim, I am of the opinion that when it comes to stealing signs, it is not only a part of the game, but for all the levels I played at up through high school, it was an encouraged portion of the game. I find this situation with the Red Sox and the Yanks regarding the iWatch a little bit ridiculous. Where do you stand on it, and do you think they'll get heavy penalties? The Red Sox, that is.
I think they'll get penalized. I don't think it'll be heavy, and for the most part, I agree with you. I have a really big story here coming out soon on the art of stealing signs and all that. I'm not sure when it's going to run. Hardly the point. The point is, this has been going on for 140 years, and it's part of the game. It's an integral part of the game, and it's a really fun part of the game for me. At the same time, when you do it electronically, even as small as doing something on an Apple Watch like that, it's still going to come with some punishment. There's real gamesmanship, and there's a real art to learning how to steal a sign. Some guys are great at it. Some guys don't even know what they're doing. But it's a big part of the game, and yet when you cross the line, and the Red Sox cross the line, you need to be punished. I think it's just going to be fines and maybe a couple minor suspensions, but something baseball will keep its eye on from here on out.
All right, we've got a couple calls on the line here. 888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Questions for Tim Kirkjian. Tyler in Pennsylvania, what's up?
Yes, hello, Tim. Hello.
You're on the air.
Hello, how you doing?
Good.
I had a real quick question. A diehard Philadelphia Phillies fan, Tim. What is it going to take to get my Phillies back in the playoffs?
It's going to take some time here, but, they made such a nice little jump last year, and we saw the future, and Tommy Joseph, and now we see Rhys Hoskins, and we see some other people that really give them some hope moving forward. They have some kids. They have a nice system, but it's going to take taking some of that money they got with their new TV package and going out and either trading for or buying a big-time hitter for the middle of the order, big-time pitcher. This is a slow process, and their rebuild was a little slower than it could have been because of their faith and their loyalty to some of their older guys. But this is going to happen for the Phillies. I just can't say that the big turnaround is going to happen next year and may need another year or two after that.
888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Matt in South Dakota, you're on the air.
Are the Twins going to make the playoffs?
I think the Twins are going to make the playoffs. There have been about 20 times this year where I at least said to myself, well, there go the Twins. They can't make the playoffs now, not with, at least at the time, a negative run differential, not with starting pitching, and then they traded their closer. And yet I think the Twins are going to make the playoffs, and I think they're going to deserve it with the way that they play. They have upgraded their defense so dramatically from last year, and it looks like Byron Buxton has finally found it, and he has really been fun to watch since July the 4th.
Matt in Illinois, you're on the air with Tim Kirkjian.
Tim, if the Cubs and the Indians met back up in the World Series, how do you think the series would go, and how do you think the ratings would do? Thanks.
Well, the ratings would be great, and it's not like this matters, but I picked the Cubs to play the Indians in the World Series at the beginning of the season. I'm not so sure about the Cubs, but just look at what the Indians have done here. 15 in a row. Their run differential is plus 81. There are only 7 teams in the major leagues that have a better run differential this season than what the Indians have put together in the last 15 games. And the last team to have a run differential of plus 81 over a 15-game span was the 1939 Yankees, one of the greatest teams of all time, and that team had the greatest run differential ever, plus 411, and that's the company that the Indians are in, at least for right now.
888-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Last one, John in Syracuse. You're on with Tim Kirkjian.
Hey, Tim. The Atlanta Braves have the minor league player of the year in their system. How are they going to make room for him next year?
Well, the Braves are a lot like the Phillies. The Braves have a lot of people coming, and they already have some people there. Joe Madden looked at me the other day when I did the Cubs game, and he said, have you seen Ozzie Albies play? The young second baseman, middle infielder, can play a lot of positions. I said, well, of course. And he goes, that kid is really going to be great. And that was just unsolicited. That's where the Braves are headed, and with that many young kids stockpiled, I don't think it's going to be too much longer, maybe 2 years from now, that the Braves really turn the corner and become a very, very good organization again.
Tim, Aaron and I are both Nats fans, and I ask you this every time we're on the air together. How do you feel about the chances, considering how far we've gotten along at this point? Trey's back, but Bryce isn't back. What do you think they're looking like?
Well, there's a big if. If Harper comes back healthy and is the dominant offensive player that he was, then they're good enough to win the World Series. If he doesn't come back 100% healthy, that's a really difficult National League to go through, given Diamondbacks and the Cubs and certainly the Dodgers. But I love where the Nationals are right now. But Harper's the key, because when he's back and he's healthy, that lineup might be the best in baseball. I don't know how you slow it down. And with those 3 starting pitchers and a much improved bullpen, that team is good enough to win the World Series.
Did you see Harper's straight back cornrows, Tim?
Yeah, he's always had a complicated haircut for me, and that one was the most complicated.
He's Tim Kirkjian. He's an ESPN MLB analyst. Thanks, Tim.
All right, see ya.
Keep it locked to the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Joining us right now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, you know the name, you know the game, CEO, businessman, celebrity dad, coach, trainer, LaVar Ball joins us. Good morning, LaVar.
Good morning, good morning.
How you doing today, man? What's going on in California these days?
Good. I'm having a great time. I'm feeling good.
All right, well, I'm going to ask you about the show. Ball and the Family is out on Facebook. It seems to be a big success. It obviously has been a large part of you guys' lives. Tell me a little bit about how that show, just in terms of production, affected how you guys do things, because I know y'all got a lot going on in that family.
We got a lot going on, but it's not affecting what we're doing. It's just showing people a different light of the Ball family, because most of the time people just interviewing me and ask me about shoes and things. So when I give them these statements or whatever I say, they say, wow, I didn't know he was like that. Because nobody really knows us. They're just, hearing little sound bites here and there.
LaVar, you recently made the announcement that your youngest, LaMelo, will be getting his own shoe. What sort of feedback have you gotten, and are you at all worried about his college eligibility?
Oh, no, I'm not worried about no college eligibility. But he got his own shoe out already. He's the first one ever. In high school, you got LeBron James, Michael Jordan. Nobody ever had one in high school, but my son does.
We're talking with LaVar Ball here, the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz, Clinton Yates, Aaron Dodson filling in. So let me ask you this, LaVar. Things have come a long way in terms of when people first sort of heard of you, if you will, introducing your sons and all that. Now that Lonzo is in the pros, how has this affected your system and your plan in terms of how you do things? Because not everybody's going to be under the same roof or even in the same place. I imagine that, particularly with the situation regarding, Tina, at least from what I've seen from the show, things are going to get a little harder. How much bandwidth do you have to do all this, man?
No, things are going to get easier. This is not hard. This is all a plan, and it's going accordingly. Ain't nothing going to get hard. I don't care. The plan was all my sons are going to be in the pros. And that's going to happen. And I'm having a good time doing it. Like I said, it's not going to get harder. I'm going to stay the same person. My boys know what I'm about. I know what they're about. And we're just moving forward, just doing things that we already planned on doing. So it's not going to get hard, Like I said, even with my wife, I'm still going to take care of her regardless. And like I told her, she's having a good time. She get up, ain't got to worry about nothing. As long as she hanging out with me, she going to be fine.
LaVar, you seem to be all about expansion. Do you see the Big Baller brand expanding beyond just basketball and representing other athletes besides your sons?
I don't know yet. Probably so. But I'm going to make sure I take care of these three first before I start, because I don't want to. People have asked me, can I represent them and stuff like that, but I don't want to give them 20% and have my boys 80%. I got to be 100 in for my boys, because that's not fair for either one of us. So that's why I'm not taking on anybody till all three of my boys in the league.
We're talking with LaVar Ball here on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz, Clinton Yates, Aaron Dodson filling in. LaVar, let me ask you this. As a dad, you have quite a few responsibilities and you do so many things, but what does LaVar Ball do for fun that doesn't involve necessarily the rest of his family? Like, what is your hobby or what have you of choice that actually gives you entertainment?
Basketball, football. Like I said, my boy's passion is basketball. My passion is not basketball, football. It's personal training. So I still train kids and stuff, and I still train people around the neighborhood. That's my thing. I can do that all day. Okay. And the good thing about it, I make money personal training. So like I tell people, like most of my youngsters, I said, if you have a passion for something and you happen to get paid for it, you already won in life. Because after you done bought everything, you better have a passion to do something.
LaVar, obviously Lonzo has the ZO2s. LaMelo has the MB1s. Is LiAngelo ever going to get his own signature shoe?
Of course, man, come on. I got three boys. See, people get to tripping, and they thinking, I'm going to make two and don't make one, just like the narrative that came out. Oh, LaVar said one of his sons ain't going to make the NBA. Are you crazy? It's just like this. Jello's in there with the UCLA right now. You can't make him a shoe. But I'll tell you what, as soon as he's out of there in April, he guaranteed he's going to have a shoe.
So one of the things you talk about, LaVar, is just sort of, inspiration for your sons and how they sort of go about doing what they do. What athletes do you actually look up to in terms of, role models for them beyond the Ball family?
We don't look up to no role models. They look up to me. Like I said, we're doing stuff differently. So we don't look up to anybody. We make our own path.
So, LaVar, recently Jay-Z went on a podcast, the Rap Radar podcast, and said he bought 3 pairs of Lonzo shoes but hasn't gotten them yet. When are you planning on...
That makes sense. I told him we're not getting nobody has shoes out until November 24th. So, of course, you haven't gotten them yet. Ain't nobody got them yet. So we said we'll release them. Just because you're Jay-Z don't mean you get your shoes tomorrow.
Last thing I'll ask you, LaVar, what can we expect in the upcoming season of Ball in the Family in terms of things we didn't already know, because you've been pretty much in the public eye for a long time?
What can you expect? You can expect just watching it and understanding what we do as a family and how we roll together and just how we're going to be making history.
All right. Fair enough.
So you have to tune in on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 episodes.
When they coming out? How long is it going to be till they're all rolled out?
Sunday is going to be a whole new episode on the 10th.
All right.
And you just have to follow it, man. But it's going to be cool. It's going to show the Ball family in a different light. We're not hiding nothing. All you got to do is follow us because it's a great story in itself.
He's
it's not
LaVar
like
Ball.
we're writing this stuff up.
You know him from the Big Baller brand. You know his sons. You know the TV show. You can check it out on Facebook. Thanks, LaVar.
Hey, you're more than welcome. Y'all take care, man.
Appreciate it. Aaron Dodson.
Yes.
Quick letter grade on LaVar's enthusiasm in that interview.
Oh, I mean, he's always turned up.
That was a little less than I was expecting.
You think so?
He was a little short with the answers, which is fine. I mean, it's early out there in California. But I was expecting a little more.
It was still fun.
Have you watched the show?
I have not seen it yet.
Oh, yeah. Aaron, it's a good show. It's a legitimately good reality show. Like, it's fun. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it.
If any basketball family deserves a show right now, it's them.
That's true.
So, yeah, I'll definitely tune in eventually. I just haven't gotten a chance to watch it.
What'd you think of that Mello commercial with your man Lonzo out here flipping bars?
I've always said this. I think LaMelo, out of all 3 sons, has the most swag.
Oh, yeah. That's a non-question.
Yeah, and to see him on the show in the Lambo and the pictures of him in the Lambo and the fact that he has his own shoe, I kind of agree with LaVar. I mean, no high school kid has ever gotten his own shoe, and that's kind of crazy.
Where do you stand on the Nas situation?
Ooh. Well, I have a pretty close relationship with one little B, and a curse might be coming down. So
let me tell you something. If Lonzo Ball thought anything else at his age, I would be worried about hip-hop big time. There is no reason Lonzo Ball should not feel exactly the way he does. What was he, 20? 19? I mean, whatever age he is supposed to think that because that's all his life knows. I would never expect him to be respecting Nas on any level or any dad rap for that matter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. He's a young kid. But still, I do agree with Lil B in a sense. You have to pay homage to the greats.
Of course. But come on. Half of the hip-hop game is about young dudes disrespecting the old dudes in order to make a name for themselves. We all know this. A little disappointed in that Lonzo Ball interview. LaVar Ball interview.
Really?
Not going to lie, y'all. Not going to lie.
We'll get him back.
It'll be better. We'll pick it up.
Keep it locked to the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
The NFL Network, Steve Weiss, joins us right now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thank you, Steve, for joining us. First question, do you think there is any major problem with New England right now, not just because of the blowout, but because of their personnel issues going forward?
Well, first off, Clinton, but you have to tell me, did you see R-E or E-U when you went to the Ibex the other night?
First of all, the Ibex. All right, so hold on. Let's quickly break this down. Steve went to Howard way back in the day, and he is referencing DC clubs that existed long before I could get into these places and go-go bands that are no longer around. But I did see R.E. the other day at Cool Disco Dan's funeral that I actually spoke at, so I got to see a live go-go band for the first time in a while. So that's that, Steve.
So there you go. Okay, now back to your question. Do I see a larger picture of issue or concern for the Patriots based on personnel? No. Look, it's week one. We're going to have overreaction Friday, overreaction Monday. A lot of teams don't look themselves week one, and then they get things on track. I will say this. It was a bad matchup for the Patriots. Remember a couple of years ago, the Chiefs did this to the Patriots as well, just blew their doors off, and everyone thought the world was coming to an end for the Patriots, and the Patriots righted the ship. But defensively, we saw last night, over the past couple of years, the Patriots have gotten rid of some pass rushers, namely Chandler Jones, let some other guys go. Once Dante Hightower left that game last night with that knee injury, which our Ian Rappaport's reporting is an MCL sprain, you saw that Andy Reid just exploited matchups all over the field, the long pass to Kareem Hunt, the running back, when he was matched up against an outside linebacker, and Cassius Marsh, who just got there 5 days ago. The Chiefs, Andy Reid, just did a brilliant job of exploiting matchups. I don't think, again, overall, the Patriots are going to be dealing with guys like Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt when they play a lot of teams in their division and several teams in the AFC. It was just a great game plan and great scheming. And I was with the Chiefs, over the past 4 days leading up to the game, and players were telling me that their game plan and their personnel gave them, a lot of confidence going into this game because they felt that they did have some favorable matchups on both sides of the ball. And you saw as that game wore on, Justin Houston, who was healthy, he dominated things at the line of scrimmage and the point of attack. So the Patriots, again, matchup-wise, the Chiefs just really had their number last night, but overall, I don't think this is a great concern for New England.
Steve, speaking of matchups, Kareem Hunt was a matchup nightmare last night. What did you make of his performance? And it seems like Andy Reid can throw in any running back and he'll produce. Is this more of a system thing, or does Kareem Hunt have some bona fide talent?
Well, Kareem Hunt's got a lot of talent. I mean, you saw what he did at Toledo. And for people to say it's a system thing with Andy Reid and running backs, let's step back a little bit and let's say, how about they get running backs that fit what Andy Reid likes to do? Going back to all his days with the Eagles, with Brian Westbrook, you look at Spencer Ware, you look at some of the players he's used, multi-dimensional running backs, you can catch the ball, who are a threat with the long pass, running the ball, and the short pass. Remember, part of Andy Reid's offense, his version of the West Coast, the short pass is significant to a sweep or a type of run. Kareem Hunt fits that mold. And a lot of people told you, when we went back to the draft, Kareem Hunt is somebody who could be a big-time player as a rookie for the type of system he ran at Toledo and his skill set. He's perfect for the West Coast offense. You saw what he did matchup-wise against a lot of the Patriots players. And Andy Reid schemed the heck out of his skill set against the Patriots personnel. I think Kareem Hunt's a player who could have a very, very big year in that offense.
Well, let's stay on that then, Steve. How good can the Chiefs be?
Well, they're going to be good. I mean, people forget they were the AFC West champions, and the AFC West is probably the best division in football top to bottom. Yeah, the Chargers weren't that good last year, but talent-wise, their first 22, they can compete. It's just they have no depth. But you look at the Raiders, the Denver Broncos, and the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, as good as the Raiders can be, they have not been able to beat the Chiefs. It's a tough matchup. So Kansas City's a team that gets overlooked, small market, doesn't have a lot of splashy personalities, but they are loaded. And, again, their depth on both sides of the ball, they've got some depth concerns in the secondary, but their linebackers are fine. Their defensive front is fine. We saw last night that offensive line is pretty darn good for what they like to do. I mean, they block the heck out of the Patriots, especially on the edges. And then in the backfield, you saw Kareem Hunt. They lose Spencer Ware. He steps right in and plays well. Charkandrick West is okay. I think Spiller They let go of C.J. Spiller before the game. I think they're going to end up bringing him back. The one thing that you have to be, I guess, if there is a concern, is who's going to be the second receiver or the third receiver, I should say, to consistently step up. You've got Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Who's going to be that other guy consistently? Because after a while, people are going to kind of figure out what the Chiefs' tendencies are, and they're going to do what they can to take away Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill. Who else is going to step up besides Travis Kelce? And that's kind of the bigger concern. But they showed last night that they can put some points on the board. And let's not forget, the Chiefs led the NFL in takeaways last year. They didn't have a whole lot of takeaways last night. Now, losing Eric Berry, that is a massive blow.
Yeah, that's big.
Or that's the Achilles injury. I mean, he is a leader. He is the guy everyone looks to for inspiration. That is a massive blow on defense. But other than that, Kansas City should very much be in the mix. We're talking about teams in the AFC in the playoffs.
We're talking with the NFL Network, Steve Weiss, joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Clinton Yates, Aaron Dodson, filling in on the Dan Batard show on ESPN Radio. All right, we got to get to the Michael Bennett situation. Obviously, what he wrote on Twitter was one thing. Then we saw the video. Then we heard what the Las Vegas Police Department Union had to say, asking the NFL to investigate him. Can you make some sense of this to me, Steve? I've never heard of a situation in which a police department, or union rather, asked the NFL to do something like this. It seems very odd.
Well, it's the police union in Las Vegas being, excuse my language, being butthurt because he came out and accused them of targeting him because of race. It's also a police union that knows, at least after the fact, that Michael Bennett has been one of the largest advocates speaking out against excessive force by law enforcement and by law enforcement, when they do maybe overstep the lines, not being prosecuted. So they're trying to say he's blaming an entire police force for being racist and for targeting him and singling him out for excessive force. And, them asking the NFL, then you have the NFL saying he didn't do anything that violated our personal conduct policy. Remember, that's the day after Commissioner Roger Goodell, even before he had all of the facts of what happened with Michael Bennett getting taken down by police in Vegas, before he had all the facts in that case, issuing a statement. And this is the first time the NFL has done this, saying they support people like Michael Bennett and the good works that they do. So then the next day they come out and say, we're not investigating him. He doesn't, on first blush, he doesn't look like he's done anything wrong that's violated our policies. So whatever you want to do, you have to handle it on your own. So in terms of a police union, they're just trying to say, hey, we're standing up for our guys. They didn't target him. But that was such a reach. And this is the big problem that a lot of people have against some law enforcement, some of the issues, is that instead of addressing the issue of maybe something possibly wrong happening here or excessive force or someone being wrongly targeted, they're going to blame the victim. They're going to blame somebody who's accusing the police of doing something wrong. And that's what a lot of folks are speaking out against. And this is that whole blue wall issue that some people are very concerned about. And I think by the Las Vegas Police Union trying to take this preemptive strike, they're reinforcing some of the negative images people have of law enforcement.
Steve, Commissioner Roger Goodell recently came out and said that he thinks Kaepernick will get another shot, but he also added that he's not a football expert, quote unquote. What do you kind of make of that comment? And now that it's kind of come from the top of the league, do you think there's a chance that Colin might get signed?
Yeah, I think Roger probably wishes he worded that better. Because I think what he was trying to say is, hey, look, I'm not a football personnel guy.
Yeah.
I don't know who wants what for their team. So I'm going to put that part in context. I personally do not think Colin Kaepernick is going to get another job unless there is a team that suffers maybe 2 injuries at the quarterback spot. I think the owners have spoken. I think coaches and general managers have spoken. Colin Kaepernick should be on somebody's roster right now. If you're going by somebody, even as a backup, who give your team a chance to win a ball game if your starter went down. He's better than a lot of guys who are backing up. He's better than some starters. Is he a personnel fit for every scheme? Absolutely not. But I think, there's a lot of factors in play. Let's not be naive. Let's also look at the fact that the two teams that did show interest in Kaepernick, Seattle, which brought him in, and Baltimore, would at least publicly express they were looking at him, they got raked over the coals. First off, by people who want nothing to do with Kaepernick. Secondly, by people who think that they were being ridiculous by not signing him. So what would force the other 30 teams to step out of the shadows? They're like, hey, we don't want to deal with any of this stuff, so we're not going to deal with it. And I think you have a lot of that stuff going on. Trust me, as somebody who covers the league, there's just teams that do not want to deal with this. And if Kaepernick gets a job, again, I think it's if one team maybe has two injuries to that spot and they say, hey, we're going to go ahead and bring him in. But I think that's if a team's actually in a potential playoff chase. Because most teams will say, if we suffer two injuries at that spot, we're in deep stuff anyway, so let's just go ahead and get a young guy in here and get him some reps.
Right.
So it's tough. Again, I personally don't think Cap's going to get another opportunity, and that's just because I think these teams have already showed their hand.
He's the NFL Network's Steve Weish, and his alma mater won a football game that was a huge upset that nobody on earth watched. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, man. You guys take care.
All right.
Keep it locked to the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Cleveland Cavaliers. You picked up Isaiah Thomas. First thing you do out the gate in his introductory press conference is tell everybody that y'all ain't talking about his hip. Come on, fam. There's one thing to talk about. Let's hear what Kobe Altman, the Cavaliers GM, had to say about Isaiah's injury.
I don't want this to be the Isaiah Thomas hip press conference. And so I'm just going to, with all due respect, shut down the hip questions. If we want to talk about Isaiah, let's talk about Isaiah the All-Star. Let's talk about Isaiah, the guy that averaged 29 points a game last year. Let's talk about him as a leader and what he's going to bring to this franchise in terms of his performance on the floor when we get him back. So, again, guys, we appreciate the questions, but this is not going to turn into the Isaiah Thomas hip press conference. We want to talk about what he's going to add and contribute to this team and what these guys are going to bring to the table and how we're going to continue to try to compete for a championship with these guys' help.
The spin is heavy there, Aaron. What do you think about those comments?
Boo, Kobe. Boo. How are you not going to address an injury that almost took the trade off the table, Clinton? Like the trade almost didn't go down because of Isaiah Thomas's injury. And for him to not address it is kind of ridiculous in my mind. I mean, you could have addressed it in a PR way, but to not address it at all, it just seems fishy to me. I think Isaiah Thomas is going to be out longer than everyone anticipates, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing. He introduced an element of doubt here that I think wouldn't have been there if he had just stated what was going on. Like, I don't know what he has to lose by being honest here. It's really strange.
I just think that looks like we're going to see Derrick Rose starting at point guard for the Cavs at the beginning of the season.
I mean, that's wild, but, I mean, look, I don't think that the Cavs actually need Isaiah that much, to be quite honest. I mean, if they got him back late season, I was sort of joking yesterday and saying if they played him one game in the regular season, be it the first game of the year, then got him back in the Eastern Conference Finals when they were playing against the Celtics, that'd be good enough for me just from the storyline standpoint. But this looks like I'm not going to say they don't know what they're doing, but it seems like there's something they're trying to hide, which if I'm a Cavs fan, I'm not happy about that, Aaron.
Yeah, it's just fishy, man. I mean, there's clearly something wrong with his hip. I mean, everybody saw him go out and miss the rest of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs. And I know that the Cavs were kind of skeptical about making this deal because of his injury. And now just the fact that they're not addressing it, I just don't know when we'll see Isaiah Thomas actually in a Cavs uniform.
Let's hear what Isaiah Thomas himself had to say about his health update.
I'm just getting treatment each and every day, working out in the weight room, and that's the most that I'm doing right now. We have like Kobe said, we have a plan set, and we're just going to attack that plan and get me back to 100% as soon as possible.
Is there any scenario here in which you think the Cavs ended up losing this trade, Aaron, if IT can't play? Like, how big of a deal is this in your world if it turns out he really is not just incapable of getting on the court, but when he does get back on the court, not the same player?
I think it all has to do with LeBron James, to be honest. I mean, it has to do with whether or not he's going to leave next year, because I think that there's still a good enough team to make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals with or without Kyrie. They added some other pieces to their roster. Obviously, they don't have an all-star point guard anymore, healthy at least. But I think that it all kind of has to do with LeBron James. I actually think that Cleveland got the better side of the deal. I just think that they're gearing up for the future, and they're gearing up for losing LeBron James. So you add a prolific scorer in Isaiah Thomas, who might not be completely healthy right now, but you would like to think that he's going to get healthy at some point.
Right.
You add a first-round draft pick. But if you lose LeBron, it still sets you up to rebuild kind of better than losing him the first time.
That Nets pick, it actually allows you to have some level of hope going forward. Let's hear what Isaiah Thomas had to say about playing with LeBron James.
It was surprising. It definitely. He's texted me a few times. He's reached out. I know he's reached out to Jay as well. And he's just excited about what we can bring to the table and how we can help. And, I mean, to speak for myself, I'm excited to play with the best player in the world. I've been in situations before where things have been a little tough and we haven't had the best players, but we just kept fighting and worked with what we had. But being put in this situation on the court is everything. To play with the best player in the world, to play with a guy like Kevin Love and J.R. Smith and Derrick Rose and to be coached by a guy like Tyronn Lue, who's played in this league for a long time, it's like I said it in my Players Tribune piece yesterday, it's like a match made in heaven.
Cavaliers, don't think you're going to get through this whole season just telling people they can't ask about IT. He's the biggest trade of the offseason. He's one of the most important players in the league, and y'all got him. If you honestly think you're going to go through the rest of this little charade and actually be able to have people on your side, you're wrong. Pump the brakes.
You can leave.